Okay, there it goes. It was like stuck at like, it goes, you know how when you press live on Facebook, it goes 3, 2, 1. It was like 1. And it was just like holding there. I was like, oh. Hello and welcome to day 115 of 365 days of Facebook Live. My name is Jessica Lozano and I'm a women's relationship and feminine embodiment mentor. And I help women have extraordinary love lives with the love of their life. So welcome. Thank you for being here. If you're watching live at any point of any of my lives, please say hello. I would love to talk with you, interact with you. Always comment. I will come back. I get the notifications for the comments. Not all of them, most of them. I have noticed that sometimes I don't get the notifications, but if I see it, I will respond. And if you're watching on the replay, please say hello as well. Let me know that you're here. And at the end of any of my transmissions, please, please, please let me know how it was for you. So today I want to talk to you about 40-day yoni sadhana practice. So what a yoni sadhana practice is, something that I learned from Jillian Palthier, I think that's how you say her last name. Amazing. Yeah, amazing woman. God, her practices are like, her transmissions are like always mind-blowing. I love what she teaches. I love how she always takes what I know and brings it to a different element. And she was the first woman that introduced me to a yoni sadhana. She's like, you guys should do a 40 days yoni sadhana. I was like, what is this? What, like, tell me more. Like, what is this about, right? Because I'm all about sacred sexuality, and awakening and really connecting and having a really deep, intimate relationship with your body for sure, and especially your pussy and your womb, as these are our creation portals as women. And it's so important to have like a strong connection with her because this is part of our superpower as women. So when I heard about this from her, I was like, okay, I definitely need to learn more about this. And basically what this practice is that you have a mirror like this. Yesterday was my last day, so I had some special flowers there. And you yoni gaze at your yoni. And you also get intimate with her. You get intimate with her outer layers, with the vulva, with all the grail gates, the outer lips, the inner lips, the clitoris, and you know, opening her up, going deep inside, and just really exploring. This is not about self-pleasure. This is not about de-armoring. This is just about really connecting with your genitalia as a woman. Really connecting with her, getting intimate with her, like getting close up personal as much as you can with the mirror as close as you can, and witnessing yourself, splaying yourself in front of a mirror. Most women have not done that unless in front of a man. Only a man has seen her portal. So this is such a powerful practice because especially our genitalia is more internal, right? It's not something that like a man is just out there. Like he can see it, he can touch it, he can discover it, right? For us, it's different. So sitting in front of a mirror, displaying yourself in front of the mirror in a very sacred, reverence way to spiritually connect with her, to really get intimate with her, is a practice that I believe every woman should do. Every woman should do. Every woman should do. It will change how you relate to your pussy, to your genitalia forever. And you will create a closer connection with her. You will learn how to love her. You will learn how to accept her. You will learn how sensitive you are to your own touch. Are you numb? Or are you available and willing to touch and get familiar with her? You will, from the process of connecting with her and asking for guidance, for knowledge, for wisdom, whatever's to come through, whatever has been stored in these areas can get released. As something was stored in my genitalia on day 34, I had this experience where as soon as I was complete with the session, I had this awareness of all these memories coming to me about a memory that I had, that's something that I had experienced, that I witnessed at a very young age, at 6 years old, that created this sensation in my sexual anatomy that I did not, like at that age, I did not know what to do with it. I did not know what it was. It was very uncomfortable, something I should have never witnessed, but I did. And it was stuck in there. And it's not a memory that I was like afraid of, felt bad at, like just remember what I felt, and I never really necessarily blocked it away. But after working through this, and especially working on the Grail gates on the outside, which is what I do in my guided meditations for this, I was like, holy shit, I've been holding on to a memory here that's been causing certain sensations, blocking certain sensations, not wanting certain sensations, not liking to be edged or to be I didn't like edging, or I didn't like if I felt the sensation of a clitoral orgasm happening, I needed it to happen right there. And I didn't like the really long teasing, especially with her. So I realized this. I was like, holy shit, this is why I don't like teasing. This is why I don't like extending and elongating sensations in anything. I can get very impatient, which is something that I worked through, but I've been working through, and I can see how that was stuck there. What happened after I realized this, after all these memories came in, after I was like, oh my God, I know this, and this is why, this, like connecting all the dots together. I was like, wow, like I see, I know, and I set her free. Like it literally set me free and returned the innocence of my sexuality. It returned, and I reclaimed my innocence of her from something that was stored in there that I had no idea. I thought it was, I've talked about the incident, but never about how I felt and how that affected me and my sacred sexual anatomy. It just never was the time. It just never came up until then. Reclaimed the innocence of my sexuality. Do you understand the power of that? Do you understand the purity of that? Do you understand what it does to a woman when she remembers the innocence of her genitalia, of her sex, of her pleasure? It brings back your life force. It brings back your innate primal power as a woman, and to explore life free. Very maiden. How many women have some types of these things stuck in their bodies? So many women, so many women. So the first thing that I will say, well, this is the journal that I wrote everything in, so I might come back and reference it. But one of the first things was that, okay, I'm going to read the first entrance here that I wrote. Day one. By the way, it took me, I couldn't do 40 days in a row because we were moving into this house, and I really wanted to start the practice. I really wanted to get intimate with it because I knew Sex Priestess was coming up, and this was like a practice. I'm like, I need to put this inside the practice, inside of one of the practices. So I need to get familiar with it because I could understand the purity of this and the power of this practice. So I missed like 2 weeks. And then also before that, I had strained my neck, which was really weird. And then it would have been uncomfortable to do the practice, and then, you know, moving here. And so it hasn't been 40 days in a row, but if you could absolutely do 40 days in a row, I think there is another spiritual power to that. Because I know 40 is like a pretty big number with it. So something very beautiful that I feel with my legs spread. There was a holiness to it, a beauty of this birth portal where my future baby will come from, and where my man's cock enters when we become one. She is so precious and beautiful, a miracle. I could feel where she is soft and plush, how pink she is, how tender she is, where it can hurt with sticky, dry fingers, as well as my pubic hair. She looks different up close and in the mirror. I used to think that she is ugly, but she is not. She is extraordinary sacred beauty. Extraordinarily sacred beauty. I also kept thinking, this is what babe sees. There is a tenderness to that in my heart. Like, wow, this is what my man worships. This was day 1 of the entrance of the day 40. That is the experience that I felt personally when I sat there, splayed open in front of the mirror for day 1 and got close and intimate to this holy energy of her, to the birth portal. I remember looking at the opening of the vagina canal, and I remember just like, wow, like it was like I was almost like drawn in a trance from like, this is like the open, this is like where life comes from. This is where, you know, my man's cock enters to create life when we become one. Like, there is a power in here. This is where creation comes from. Like, not just birthing from of a baby, of course, but also when, as women, as when we are creating, it's like the symbolic extraction of that, birthing of that creation. There was something about it that I was just like mesmerized by her. I was like, wow, like she's a miracle. This is a miracle. Our bodies are a miracle. How babies are created is a miracle. And when we can return to that, do you understand what that can do for the consciousness of humanity? When we can return to what a miracle our bodies are, to what a miracle our yonis are, we would have so much less suffering and stop giving our bodies away just like they're candy, you know, and have more discernment about who we allow to enter, have more protection over who we allow to enter, right? And be more discerning on who it is that we marry and get into a relationship. All of that stems from your relationship to yourself. Higher consciousness with your pussy is going to equal a higher consciousness of a man that you want to be with. So that was day 1. And I do remember feeling a little awkward with her at first. I'm like, this is kind of like, I do remember having that awkwardness feeling like a friend that you know but you don't know. It's kind of like that. I remember it being like, it's like a friend that I know but I don't know. Like, I know you're my friend, but this is kind of weird. It's almost like eye gazing with someone that you like know but don't know. You know what I mean? So that's what it felt like. It was awkward, but it was also like that miracle awareness to her. So that's one of the things that happened with that. I told you about day 34, where I had that powerful awareness. I also realized that I noticed how I would breathe in my chest, like whenever I would touch on the outside, or then when I went towards the inside, how my breath would start to change. And that was something that I, even with permission of my yoni to enter, that's where I would like realize, I'm like, that's weird. Why am I holding my breath like that? It's almost like there was this resistance to penetration, to that. And I also noticed how my face would tense up even with pleasurable touches that would happen. I was like, this is really interesting. I was like, why am I doing that? And I think with day 34, I did have an awareness that came with that one too. Was like, there was like this feeling of like, that was tied into that memory from those sensations that were where I was feeling, where I felt like I didn't want to feel that in a way, but it felt good. And I'm allowing it in as an adult, like knowing that this is what I want, but I would have that tension on my face. So what I learned from this is where I was holding on to resistance to pleasure and to my yoni in general, as a womb portal, as a portal, as part of my anatomy, as my genitalia, and free that from myself so that I can relax into this space. What I also learned is that sometimes she doesn't always want to be penetrated. And I remember actually from doing these practices with Ron, I actually wanted to have more sensual intercourse, more sensual sex. I didn't want to have like rough, tough types of things or or not, or faster or anything like that. I wanted something slower, and doing these practices actually helped me. This yoni sadhana practice helped me communicate to Ron with what I wanted. I asked him what he saw when he looked at my yoni. Like, what do you see? And he said it was like a magical painting, something like that. I can't remember. I know I made a post about it, but it's because I wanted to feel with him that, like, because of how I was relating with her, I wanted to create that with him, because that's what I was yearning for. That's what I was desiring for, you know? And I wanted that. And it felt really good for him to slow down, for him to do something different. And I could communicate with that, because I was communicating with that with myself during these practices, and it creating some of the most one of the most amazing sex sessions, I guess you can call it, with him. So that's something else that I learned as well. I'm definitely more connected with her. I understand her better. And even more so now, I have a better understanding of her and when I do not want sex. When I do not want pleasure. And that's okay. That's okay. It definitely has allowed me, because even though my partner has never, ever, always encouraged me to communicate when I did not want to have intercourse, for me there was always this small thing that I've been working through, which I work through a lot, where it's like you have to even if you don't want to, right? And this practice really helped me get over that last hump of where I really needed to continue to be like, well, I don't know if I really want to today, or maybe I'm open to it, but let's see how some foreplay goes, right? So it was like that last little bit that I needed to connect with her and have this more holy, sacred, innocent relationship with her. What else happened during these 40 days? I could definitely understand when there was more sensation in her, what days were not. Doing this on my bleed was also very powerful, to see the blood coming out and being with her during those times. Not too much happened in those times. I can't remember. It's a little bit of a blur, but working with the inside, getting to know inside. I finally felt my cervix. That's something that I've been wanting to understand more, as I'm going to move into cervix de-armoring. So yeah, I got acquainted with her with that, and I got to see just how sometimes I feel, and how you get to see all parts of you if you commit to something like that for like 40 days, just like this, 365 days. I get to see all parts of me, and how am I going to work with it? But with the yoni sadhana, it was definitely something that I got to see a lot, got to experience a lot from me in my body in all the different days and all the different times of all the different seasons of my cycle. And yeah, it was an awesome experience. I do recommend that you do it. You just need a mirror, you need a splay open. I would recommend having some music that you can relax into. Say a prayer, say an intention. Before you go into it, you can call in your higher self. You can call in deities that you believe, that you connect with, that would align with this practice. And the way I coached it was 7 days outside of the yoni. After the 7 days, you can go internal if your yoni allows. And then after that is kind of allow yourself to, like, for 7 more days, you really explore internal. Like, that's like the main idea. And then after that, just allowing yourself to be more intuitive. That's how I coached it. And then after the practice, you close it in. And it doesn't have to be long. It could be 10, 15 minutes. Although my meditations were a little bit longer. But my meditations were very powerful. And then after you close the practice, what I like to do in the meditation was to activate the light codes within my body, and that really helps to integrate what you learned and what your deities were communicating with your yoni and with you and all of those things. And then you close it off and then you journal. And that's it. And that's it. It's very simple. It's very simple. And you want to be just very close and intimate. I do recommend having your back supported, or else your low back's going to bother you. And get in there and play and be gentle and be loving. Approach it with no expectations, just to allow what is meant to come up for you to come up. And if you do that, let me know. I would love to hear your experience. I am thinking about selling the meditations that I created inside of Sex Priestess. If I do, I will let you know, and I will post that. I'm still debating about it. I would probably have to do like an introduction video, maybe, or at least write a really well out, email once you buy it, maybe like a PDF or something like that, so that you know what to do, because it's very powerful. I think every woman should do it, and it'll definitely bring you closer to your own body and closer to, your own temple. So I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day, and I'll see you tomorrow.